I should say the day war broke out. I was serving an apprenticeship, which was reserved occupation, and I think it was beginning of 41. They were getting short of aircrew, and they said people in reserved occupations could volunteer to fly as pilot or navigator in the Air Force or the Fleet Air Arm. And I went down to a recruiting office near Euston Station in London and volunteered, and had a chat with the reception committee, had a chat about it and a quick medical, and they said, well, come back later. And as I said, there would be some delay. About a month later, I received another document asking me to register. So I went down to the same place, saw the same people. They said, we've seen you before, haven't you? I said, yes, I was here 4 weeks ago. They shook their heads and said, go home and wait to be called. And eventually, I think it was probably May, I went to a 2-day interview which included medicals, and it was accepted. And then because I was a reserved occupation, they go home and wait to be called up. Finally called up in July, reported to Lord's Cricket Ground. Now by that time, the production of aircrew, Henry Ford was being found of it. I think they used to have about, I would say, 300 or 400 people reporting to Lords once every fortnight, divided into flights of 50, and went off to start their initial training. Initially in London, Babbacombe, and we arrived back at Wilmslow, not knowing where we were going to go, and never even heard of Wilmslow, by the way, and finally boarded a train from Wilmslow at night up to Greenock, and on a boat for 2 days, which was actually rocking up and down in Greenock, and off we sailed in convoy. No idea where we were going. Convoy for, I think, the first 24 hours, and it was an old French cruise liner, the Louis Pasteur, and it was a fast one, and then on we were on our own straight to Halifax. Halifax for a few days, and then a long train journey down to Florida. And we had a stop in Boston on the way, stop in Washington. The kind taxi driver, we had a couple of hours spare, took us to see the Washington Memorial, Lincoln Memorial, down to Florida. Little town, it was only one street town called Clewiston. It's a great holiday resort now, side of Lake Okeechobee, and started flying there on Stearman's initially. I was having trouble going solo, and most of the chaps who soloed in the flight, those who were not washed out. Sheer luck. On the table in our crew room, there was a book on flying training. I read the book on takeoffs and landings, and something my instructor had never told me. The following day, he sent me solo after I'd done. And when I texted afterwards, he said, you know, Lasham, I was a little worried about you going solo, but I'd seen you recover from so many bad landings. You know you recover from anything. Anyway, carried on with the training, finished May the following year, got the wings, back to Canada and back home, leave of course, and then they went to what was called an advanced flying unit to get people accustomed to flying in England, where the visibility was often less than 100 yards from sunshine and blue skies in Florida. And left there, and I went to what was called an advanced flying unit, thinking I was going to go on to night fighters, and by that time I wasn't. I went up to a place called Osworth. It's now buried under the Nissan car factory, just outside Sunderland. And there I met Joyce, a lady I married, and she was the ambulance driver, but while she was standing by, she used to help the dentist. And I saw her later the following day, said, you started recording, would you come to the pictures with me? So she went to the pictures, and we got on extremely well. And then the course there finished. It wasn't a course, the time I was there was finished. I went on leave, and I was then posted to a night fighter OTU near Bedford, a place called Twinwoods Farm. Got a lot of useful experience there. I flew the Blenheim 1s, the Blenheim 2s, and the Blenheim 4s, which I think 5s also called the Bisley. Then to Cranfield, I started flying Beaufighters. But what my grandchildren would call, they were very picky choosy. And I was taxiing in one night, I put the wheel of my Beaufighter off the taxiway into the mud, and I was washed out. So it was to my advantage because I then did another AFU and another conversing unit, initially on Wellingtons and then to Lancasters, and by the time I got to the squadron I'd got 600 hours behind on my belt. The other people were getting to the squadron but less than 300, and I'm sure that helped at the end.